Change is hard. Change is really hard, and I've had a lot of it since I moved out of the USA. I moved to Italy in my 20s, lived there for a couple of years, moved back home, and then I guess since the past 3 or 4 years, my husband and I have been moving abroad together as a family. So we were in Lebanon for a few years and then left, and then now we're in Hong Kong, and I've been here for I guess like a year and a half. And yeah, all the moving abroad is terrifying. Like when I was in my 20s, it was terrifying. I didn't speak the language. I was all by myself. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions of my life. But I've learned that, from all these moves, even though I'm not by myself anymore and I'm a lot older and more experienced, it still is hard. Like change is still hard. I know that like this year, so many Americans, just like me, how I was before, so many more Americans are feeling the urge to just pick up, pack their bags, and just get the hell out of the US. And I honestly can't blame them because like my years living in different countries have been so formative and have really just changed my life and molded me as a person. And in so many ways, it's made this like huge, scary world that we live in seem so much smaller. I will always love my country. I will always be a proud American, but I do just love the feeling and the freedom of being able to live in different places and experience different aspects of the world. And I definitely understand the feeling that a lot of Americans have of like wanting to escape right now. Even if you don't feel like you want like an escape, you just feel like you want to like try something new. And if you're someone who's kind of feeling that urgency, like you're feeling like 2025 really is the year that I want to get out of the US, like I really want to move abroad, keep watching this video because I'm going to keep talking a little bit about some of what I've learned, like, and I take a deeper dive into the world of expat life. If you follow me for a while or have seen me on Instagram and TikTok, you've seen me talk about it, and I have like expat life playlists. And it really has been a privilege to be able to call so many countries home and be able to travel as much as I have. But I just kind of want to give you guys some more info on the reality of the privileges that I've had and also the lessons that I've learned. So one of the most profound lessons I've learned living abroad is how important it is to be adaptable. Like you're gonna uproot your life, you're gonna move to a whole new country, and things are going to be different. You're gonna be stepping into the unknown, and then every time you move and go somewhere different, you're gonna be stepping into the unknown all over again. Things won't go as you planned. You can plan meticulously or you can just wing it. And even if you plan meticulously, things will not go as you planned. Unexpected things will happen. And even if you aren't alone when you move, like the first time I moved, I was by myself. The second and third time I was with my husband. Even if you aren't alone, even if you're with your whole family, it can still feel really lonely, especially like around this time of year, like the holidays, if you're talking about, talking to your friends and family at home and everyone's like planning their get-togethers and doing all their traditions and you feel like you're missing out. Even if you're having fun where you are, you can still miss what you left. But I think the key to thriving as an expat is to really embrace the change, just like make it part of who you are and what your life will be, and really just get not only get used to it, but like learn to love those feelings. And also like stay flexible. You can't really like be that fixated on your plans and that upset when you have to pivot from them. It's only gonna make you crazy and the life will just not be sustainable. And another crucial aspect of thriving and surviving as an expat is embracing the feelings and the need for human connection. You have to build relationships. You have to be really proactive and intentional about how you go out and build them, whether it's with locals or other expats. It's a great way to like learn about the country, learn about the culture, learn about customs, even like learn about little funny like tips and tidbits about the city, like where do people buy batteries and where's the best place to go buy electronics. I've learned in a lot of places I live, there's not really like one-stop shopping. Like there's not like a Target like in the US where you can just go get everything you need in one place. A lot of times you're gonna be going to different niche little markets or different little stores, or like there's a place you go get home goods, there's a place you go get medicine, this is the pharmacy, this is where you get beauty products. And so kind of tapping into the local culture is gonna help you get used to all of that and learn it before you get really frustrated. It can also help provide you with a support system. And I've learned that people are really open and really willing to help. So don't feel like you're intruding. I know that it can be really hard for people who are introverted. I'm very extroverted and it still is hard sometimes, but it's just kind of part of it. Like you just have to really like be proactive and intentional. I know I used that word before, but that's the word. Like be intentional about how you are meeting new people and just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. But if you are afraid, just go ahead and do it anyway. Strike up a conversation with someone new, say hi to someone at a coffee shop, just like be proactive about meeting people and don't feel like weird or like it's gonna end in a negative way. Like when I first moved to Italy, a lot of the friends that I made were simply because it's like I heard English with an American accent, and then they heard my English with the American accent, and then we're best friends. And that was just it. Like, you know that we're from the same place and we're going through the same things. But ultimately, like even if you move alone, you will not be able to survive alone. Like you will need to have a community, you will need to have a support system, and it's going to be up to you to carve that out and make it happen. Of course, like as exciting as moving abroad can seem, there's always going to be pros and cons, and some countries are going to be easier than others. I absolutely love living in Lebanon. I lived there for 2 years and I would not trade that experience for anything in the world, but it was a very challenging place to live, especially at times. But on the pro side, living abroad can just be an amazing adventure. It really is a life-changing experience. It's a way to broaden your horizons. It's a way to meet new people. It's a way to see the world and just kind of jump into regional travel and go to places you might never go if you were on a long haul flight. So since I've been living in Hong Kong, I've been able to just take like weekend trips to like Singapore, Vietnam, Bali, Thailand. Like all these are just like 4 or 5 day weekend trips on low cost airlines. So it's really just, it's just easy. Like if I were flying from the States, I would never be able to do everything that I have. It might be like once a year you get a 2-week trip and you country hop and it's really stressful. But here it's kind of like you can take 4 days and see some stuff. And then if you want to go back, like, yeah, I can go back to Bali in a few months and see other areas. And it's just like not that big a deal because of how close it is. Yeah, there are also some like other cons to consider. Of course, it's not always just gonna be fun and games and travel. Homesickness is very real, especially during the holidays. And even though you can always travel home for big things like weddings, funerals, anniversary parties, family reunions, the thing that I miss the most are the little things. Like the kind of just like random get-togethers, the like quality time with the little kids, like my niece. Like you just kind of miss so much, and staying connected, especially with little ones, is really challenging. Like there's just only so much you can do on a once a week FaceTime. And then my husband and I also both have 2 sets of parents in 2 different states that, you know, will need more support as they get older. And I know that eventually we'll find ourselves coming home for a while just to like help take care of them. But it is something that, you know, we think about and worry about, and making sure that they're okay. And I think that a lot of millennials, like us older millennials, will kind of find ourselves in the same situation. And that might be part of the reason why you are hesitant to move abroad in the first place. But I think if you think about it like the way I have, like I've moved abroad and come home several times in my life. So if you think about it, like I really want to move abroad. It doesn't have to be I leave forever and never go back. Like you can leave and then feel like, you know, I had a really great time. I want to go back to the US and get closer to my family, and then like reset and come up with a new plan, and then maybe go somewhere else. Like leaving for the first time doesn't have to be a big forever permanent decision. You also got to think about cost of living and also employment. Those are huge factors to moving abroad, and also to which countries you want to move to. As much as I love living in Italy and working in Italy, my salary in Italy was okay for a local standard, but it was not going to cut it for me long term. I knew that I wanted career advancement. I knew that I wanted to be able to do things like buy property and like save more and think about retirement. So because of that, I knew that I was going to have to go home. Some people do get lucky enough to work for US companies overseas, so have a US salary, but like live in a cheaper cost of living, which we have also done. But a lot of times you're kind of working locally on the local economy, like I was in Italy, and the salaries are just different. So a lot of times people will say, oh yeah, like the cost of living is so great, it's so much cheaper abroad, but the salaries also usually reflect that lower cost of living. And then when you're moving abroad, there's also different expenses you need to think about. Like, so some places the landlord might say, I want 6 months rent up front or 1 year rent up front. Especially if you're a foreigner, they can't necessarily come after you the same way they could a local. So they might just be more demanding. And not every country has the same approach to convenience and customer service. Like I talked about earlier, there's really not, convenience shopping is not really a thing at a lot of places. So sometimes you do have to kind of like juggle a lot more to kind of get what you want and what you're looking for. And that's the thing about moving abroad to a new country. There's always going to be an adjustment period. So you might love it at first, but then kind of settle into wondering if you made the right decision. Or you might hate it at first and be like, oh my God, what did I do? And want to leave right away. but like you just have to give it time and just give yourself some grace. Change is always awkward. Change is always going to be awkward. And so it's going to take you a couple of weeks sometimes to really find your footing. And also to make new friends. Like once you connect with people and really get a vibe, that can change the game. So if you're really dreaming of moving abroad this year and that's the kind of change that you want to make in your life, here's a quick little rundown of some things I want you to think about. So number one, do some research. You need to thoroughly research the countries that you're thinking about going to. Learn about the visa requirements, the cost of living, what kind of jobs there are, like what their economics look like, cultural norms, healthcare, also safety ratings, and if you have kids, education. Number two, learn some of the language. Even if you only learn a little bit, just enough to kind of get around, it's just gonna help make you feel a lot more comfortable. I say that as someone who has not made any efforts to learn Cantonese, but do as I say, not as I do. Actually, the reason why I haven't is because I've been taking French already for like 4 years. It started as a hobby and then I got married in France, so it was a lot of like wedding prep and getting ready for my destination wedding. And then in Lebanon, they spoke French and Arabic, so I just kind of stayed with French. And now I just feel like I want to just get better at it and not start over with a new language. So that's really why. And I mostly use Lingoda for language training. It's been really helpful. They have really great online classes, but with a real teacher on Zoom and other students, so it really helps you hone in and practice. I'll leave a link to them in the description box. Also, moving abroad advice number 3, you're gonna have to network. So connect with expats, connect with locals, leverage social media. A lot of people have DM'd me like they found me just looking for like black girls in Hong Kong, and I've had a few people who hit me up just based on my social because they were black girls who were also moving to Hong Kong, and we've actually become like really good friends. So just use social media, don't be afraid. There's also a lot of WhatsApp groups. So I found a lot of WhatsApp groups by looking on Facebook groups actually. So there'll be Facebook groups like expat in whatever country, and whatever countries you're thinking about, just go search that, like expats in blah, blah, blah. And you'll find some groups you can join and just go through the forums, go through advice. And like through some of the expat and Hong Kong groups, I also found other like special interest WhatsApp group. Piece of advice number 4, save your money. Moving abroad is not cheap, and having a financial cushion can just make your life so much easier. So create a budget that's gonna be mostly based on the cost of living in the country you wanna go to, and also what you're planning to do for work, whether you're keeping a remote job, looking for a job locally, or just being a digital nomad and focusing on freelance income. But like you need to set a savings goal and a budget, and those amounts are all gonna vary. So that's why I say do the research first and then kind of dive into the granular like planning and financing. And don't forget to have a separate emergency fund that's gonna be used for things like unexpected healthcare emergencies, or like if you have to go home for a family emergency. I did have to go home last year. My brother suddenly passed, so I had to suddenly go home. My husband and I had to get last minute travel, and that can be pretty pricey, especially depending on where you are, and then also accommodations if you don't have family you can stay with. So got a budget for the unfortunate. And then last, just like embrace the uncertainty. It's gonna be a roller coaster. You're not gonna know what's gonna happen, and that's okay. To view everything as an opportunity for growth, and that's gonna be the way you try to make the most. So hopefully this year you can take the leap and it'll go well. Wishing you guys all the best. If you want to learn more about moving abroad, if you haven't looked at any of my other videos or playlists, make sure you check them out. I have some on TikTok and some here on YouTube. At least while we still have TikTok, they'll be on TikTok. Like this video and you want to subscribe, I would really appreciate that. I'm really hoping to grow this channel in 2025. So I would really love it if you would hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who you think would find it helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next video, and it might be in 2025, so Happy New Year.